Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Raw Daddy Hour. This is your host, Raw Daddy himself. Grandma, you've been holding us down. I really appreciate it. Everybody else, get your ass in here and start watching. I want to introduce you guys to my guests, the drip guy, Shad. He is in a different seat today. All right, he's middle seat today.
No.
And then we have the infamous.
Oh my gosh.
Allie, all the way to my far left. So I'm going to start with you. Please introduce yourself to the people.
Wait, but he got a cool nickname.
Well, you got to be on a couple more times.
This is the first
Was
time.
it the drip
now.
god?
Come on now. A couple more times.
I want to be
This is-
the drip goddess.
about 12 outfits in.
Right.
He
I
about
want a
12
nickname.
outfits in now.
I didn't get briefed on this.
I don't think Raw Daddy is the proper nickname to use for this episode.
It's a perfect name.
Perfect for this
Perfect name
episode. Drip god over here. I mean, was that his nickname?
Yeah, drip god.
Let me
Anyway,
be the
yeah,
drip
that's a
goddess.
worse nickname.
Let me be
That's
the
a worse
drip
nickname than Raw
Worse.
Daddy for this episode.
Sounds good
Yours
to me.
is worse. Anyway, introduce yourself to the people. Let them know a little bit about yourself.
Okay. My name's Allie Volsey. I've been in the fitness and beauty industry for 10 plus years, originally from New York City, Brooklyn Heights to be exact.
Okay, East Coast.
Yeah, a Yankee as they would call it down here. Moved to Houston 10 years ago, studied finance and English in college, and I'm here.
Where'd you go to college?
I met Brent at Lifetime Athletic a few years ago,
Talk about that.
and now we're here. I went to Syracuse starting, and I finished at U of H downtown.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, there you
I
go.
thought you did it all at Syracuse.
No. Well, I did it all at Syracuse. A little too much, and I left after 2.5 years.
No, so you're perfect guest.
Yes.
Way to segment us into. We are going to
Did
be
it all.
talking about monogamy versus polyamory today. How we feel about both, what are some of the benefits, and would we dabble? So, Allie, let's start with you first.
Of course.
Let's go with monogamy first. So, how do
Okay.
you feel about monogamy?
I think it works for some people, and I'd honestly probably say it doesn't work for most.
Okay. Shad, how do you feel about monogamy?
Same. I mean, statistically, monogamy doesn't work for most people. But again, it does work for a select group of people.
And then on the poly side, how do you feel about polyamorous lifestyles?
Can I add one thing to monogamy?
Yeah, go ahead.
One thing I think that's good to differentiate is that it may be something that people want, most people want, but when I said that it doesn't work, it means it just physically doesn't work for people.
Yeah.
And like you said, statistically. Polyamory, I think, is a new topic that used to be like very taboo.
Yeah.
Definitely not spoken about, I would say, in a lot of Black communities. I've heard it, actually I was introduced to it through my white friends, to be honest with you. I think they were just more open about it. Maybe we call it something different. Entanglements.
Oh God.
Well,
Let's
I mean,
not go there.
it was 2020, so yeah.
Shad, how do you feel about polyamory? I know you don't talk about it too much.
Let's get right to the shits. Are we talking about the definition of it, or are we talking about what the taboo thing is when it comes to what the first thing most people think about when they hear that word? What are we really talking about right now?
I personally am talking about what it really is because I care about it.
Okay.
So, but you can talk about it from your perspective, how you perceive it. I perceive it differently than how everybody else perceives it.
So I perceive it like, again, I'm very like by the book person. Like I perceive it as like what it is, like being able to like love multiple people, things of that nature. But again, I feel like the general consensus of what people think of, the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear that or you hear that topic is the sex part.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's a very taboo thing to most, because innately we're selfish people.
Yeah.
So like when you talk about sex and things like that, a lot of people don't want to share their partner. They feel like they're entitled to this person, and they don't want to share that partner. But as it is, as the definition of it, I mean, I don't feel like it's a unrealistic or out of the norm thing. I feel like you can love multiple people.
Yeah. I feel like monogamy is a choice. I feel like polyamory is natural. Monogamy is a choice. It's what's more socially accepted.
That's
I agree
interesting.
with your take on especially for the more minority communities, we're not as open to exploring polyamory. I feel like monogamy is just more familiar. I wouldn't even say it feels more right. It's just more familiar. It's something that
It seems more civilized.
Yeah, it's more programmed in us. It's like, okay, this is what you do. It's kind of like college feels very familiar, and then going down the unbeaten path feels like, oh, you're such a rebel. Like, why are you doing that, right? Polyamory, I feel like we just don't give it a chance. You don't even, like, when someone brings it up, the immediate thought is, oh, you're just trying to do your dirt. You just trying
because
to,
it's considered a new practice. What I have issues with would be, like, for instance, I have some friends who say they're open-minded, but then I talk to them about, oh, I've thought of the idea of being in multiple relationships with multiple people, and they're like, really? Like, they're kind of like freaks. And I'm like, so would you rather than your ex who cheat on you, like compare that.
Yeah.
He was with multiple other women, but yet we normalize that behavior. But now you're looking at me like I could be considered a freak because I would rather implement an actual practice that's called polyamory. So I just have issues with that. I think that they're just a bunch of hypocrites running around for the most part about that concept.
And that's what I mean as far as the programming, because we've been programmed to think that, okay, somebody cheats on us, you take them back, but why not just be upfront in the beginning?
Right.
And I think it's people's fear that if they are upfront in the beginning, they won't keep the mate they want. They'll realize that, okay, this person wants something different than I do.
But then is it the mate that they want?
They still want them.
They still want, you know, we want what we can't
But is
have.
it the mate that they need?
No.
So then maybe they're doing themselves a favor.
But and you know what? let's do this. I think monogamy is what people want, but polyamory is what they need. Like, let's just keep it.
You should put that on a T-shirt for real.
No, for real. Like, I really feel that, and you know, nobody's gonna listen to you because, of course, they're like, "Oh, you're disgusting. How could you love two people?" And it's like, after your first love, you love nobody else.
And that's what, that's my thing with it. I feel like people are not realistic when you think about it at its core. Like, it's not a far-fetched, like you say, like, people get divorced, you fall in love with someone, you quote unquote fall in love with someone else. So like the idea of it in itself is like, I don't understand how people can look down on it. I feel like a lot of people are not educated on what it
Do you know the
entails.
concept of The Bachelor, the show? The Bachelor, The Bachelorette?
I didn't watch it.
No, I'm bringing this up. It makes a good point.
No, I know,
just
but
let
just
me
so
rock
you know,
this
she
one,
loves
okay?
these kinds of shows.
I do. I'm trash, and I love trash TV. That is point blank, period. Sorry, okay? And I love The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. What I always find interesting is that when the lead of the show, who has like 30 contestants, gets down to like the last 3 or 4, right? They typically say, I love you, to like at least 2 of the contestants. And when they do that, they're like shunned by the public. How could you tell 2 people you're in love with them?
Yeah.
But yet the show still goes on. We normalize it, but because it's glamorized. So why is that not the same thing if I meet both of you and I say, oh, I've known them for 2 months both and I love them both? Why isn't that because I'm not on TV in like some designer dress getting paid by
like,
ABC? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like it goes back to what we talked about the other day about the resentment piece and people always wanting everything to be equal and what they perceive as fair. I don't think that if you and I were in a polyamorous, if we were in an open relationship and you have 3 partners and I have 2, I don't perceive that as unfair. This is what I needed to be fulfilled and this is what you needed to be fulfilled. But I think a lot of people look at it like we were talking about, if someone has a higher potential for getting more mates, that they're going to be able to do more. So to negate that, let's just only be us 2. And what that leads to is someone being extremely unfulfilled. Or both of you.
I think it's unfulfilled, but I think it more has to do with resentment. And that's where the anger and the jealousy comes out. People get jealous because they resent the other person.
Yeah.
So if I see some like gorgeous girl, I like beautiful women, but let's say I was a jealous person, I'm jealous because I'm resentful of that person. Like, oh, she probably doesn't have to spend 5 minutes doing her hair in the morning or something like that, right? I mean, those are the things that we think about, like, for real sometimes.
Yeah.
But it comes from resentment. It doesn't come from a lack of fulfillment, personal fulfillment.
But how do we break that ice? Like, how do we, or are we able to?
No.
So you don't think that there will ever be a time when, because fuck it, I feel like we've progressed in gay rights, trans rights, like they're all able to do their thing. why is this not something that can, you know, just give it its place? You know what I mean? I feel like it's shunned, like it is so shat on. And it's like, we're progressive in these other areas. Maybe, I mean, they're a little strong armish, but we're progressive in these other areas, but this is just like cardinal sin. So y'all don't think it'll ever get to a point where it's just like a part of society? Like how gay people can get married, you don't think they'll give us like 3? You could have like 3.
So I'm going to be honest, from a
people in
financial
marriage.
standpoint, like that's just too messy for me.
It's actually amazing.
What? No, if you're
like
not
in
legally,
business
though,
and like, you know what I'm
I'm
saying?
talking
There
about once you sign paperwork to become married.
Yes.
It is that is messy.
Yes.
Now you know I don't care about that
Imagine-
paperwork.
Yeah, but imagine getting. Well, you're talking about rights, so we're talking about. So you have to talk about legalities. If you're talking about trans rights, gay rights, those are the only rights that polyamorous people don't have,
Right.
because they can be poly out in public if they want to.
Right. Yeah.
So when you're talking about rights, that's what it means. And when it comes to marriage, people can hardly get divorced between 2 people. Can you imagine 5?
Yeah.
Oh no.
No, I said
would
3.
never.
I said 3.
Could you imagine 3?
Just thruples, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's
No.
ease
No.
into it.
I find it to be very
but here's the
complicated. I'm not
thing.
saying it shouldn't happen if people want to do that, but I'm just saying personally, no.
I get that,
Yeah.
but 2 people still suck.
Right.
So why
and 3
not
would
give?
be worse.
But why not give them the
what I
opportunity
mean?
to suck too? I feel like it shouldn't be our choice to be like, oh well, it'll be messy for y'all, so we don't do it. You know what I mean? Like if people, if
100%.
monogamous people can get divorced at 60%,
Right.
then they should have the right to get divorced
But
at
I'm
whatever
saying
percent they want to.
You're asking if
You know what I'm saying?
the
Like,
right will
divided by how
eventually
many
happen.
parts?
Exactly, divided by how.
Yeah,
That's their
but I'm
their
just,
choice.
From a legal
though.
standpoint, I think it just seems messier to people. So I think
yeah,
the process to getting
yeah.
there will just take longer.
But I feel like messier to who?
Judges,
Yo, they're not
courts.
trying to.
Yeah, they're not trying to do
deal
that.
with that.
Then that's,
They're not
then
trying to
that-
do what
then
they do
that-
already.
Then that's a reflection on the justice system. That's the
Well, that's
reflection
a whole
on
other topic.
that's
Are we
why they-
staying here for a few hours?
But I'm saying
Like,
that's on them. That's not on us as the people who are in love. That has nothing to do with me. The fact that you cannot adequately do your job in a manner in which we can get this done.
Sure.
That's
but
not
they have
my
the power
fault.
to pass the right.
And that's all I'm
Right.
asking. And that's all I'm saying is.
I just think it would take
do
a
we-
longer time.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
think eventually
Yeah.
it'll get there.
I think it'll get there.
I think people will eventually, and this is generations down the line if we're
Mm-hmm.
still on this earth, God willing. But I think that people will eventually live in village or tribal type environments rather than in just monogamous to people relationships. I think we'll go back to how at one point it was. Everything's kind of full circle. I think that's the trend that we're leading to.
I feel like that might take a while.
That's gonna take.
Yeah,
a while.
I said
yeah,
multiple
that's why.
generations.
I might
but
be
mean-
here, but it's gonna take a while. I feel like, but I guess the biggest thing for me is the education piece. You know, like,
Yeah.
and especially like if I see something and I'm like not disgusted, but I don't agree with it, or like even if I look at something, I'm like, okay, that's odd. I don't understand why you did it. I'm gonna research it.
Right.
Like
people are not.
someone
Yeah, most people are
changing a gender. I didn't understand that at first. When I first saw that, I was like, I didn't know you could do that. And it was actually someone that I knew had done it, and I didn't even know they transitioned. Like I didn't recognize them, and I was like,
Wow.
why is this person talking to me? I don't know you. And then someone was like, yeah, you know that's old girl. I'm like, so I had to do my research because I mean that's your choice. And I feel like this is like one of those things, and that's why I really want to talk about it, because I feel like this is one of those things where it's just like, no, I'm not willing to do the research.
It has
My
to come
mom
from
told
life
me
experiences.
that I'm supposed to find my Prince Charming, my right person. You know, everybody they always say that to me. Whenever I tell someone that I want a polyamorous relationship, you just haven't found the right person that will make you want to be with just them.
Right.
Where do you get that from?
Conditioning. That's
What-
everything
but what
else.
makes
Just
you
like you were,
believe it?
just like you were unfamiliar with the concept of being transgender and
Yeah.
what that entailed. It's the same thing. Like I wasn't open-eyed to polyamory until I went to visit a family member in San Francisco who was in more of an open relationship, and people that they lived with were as well. And so that was foreign to me.
Yeah.
And at first I was definitely probably judgmental in my head, typically not a judgmental person, but that I was just not, that's, fix your face. I was just unfamiliar with that concept. But once I learned more about it, I'm like, could I see myself here doing this? Maybe. Okay. And then that's when my interest peaked in that kind of world. But if you're not exposed to it, you don't get it. Like, as much as people can read about things and research, I really don't feel like you can be empathetic to situations and understanding
to
unless
experience it.
you touch it
Yeah,
firsthand.
I agree with that.
I think the difference, though, between a trans person and a monogamous person is the trans person was taught their entire life to stay the gender that they were. I'm speaking early
Okay.
transitioners, right? They were taught that, but it didn't feel right. It didn't work. So they were like, no, this can't be right if it doesn't
Right.
feel right. That's where I get confused about monogamous people. It's not working. So what is giving you this faith? What is making you believe in something that is clearly not working? That's where I'm confused.
Well, it's not like
the ones who it works for.
The one that you see from afar.
Yeah, but it's not like it's stopping people because people still cheat. So technically, they
Right,
are
that's what I
going
mean by it's
against.
not working.
Right, but I'm saying technically they aren't going against how they're feeling, which is the impulse to cheat. They're not calling it polyamory. They're just calling it, I fucked up. Same, but do you get what I'm saying? Is like, it's not like they're stopping themselves like, oh no, I was taught to be monogamous, I won't look outside my relationship. No, they're looking and they're going and they're doing it. It's just, it's not formalized.
But I still feel like cheating is a part of monogamy. Like that's still under the same umbrella. Because it wouldn't be cheating if the relationship had those guidelines set. Like, and people always say this, they're like, polyamory is just an excuse to cheat. I mean, it's not cheating because that's what the relationship is.
Right.
So it's not the same thing in my eyes. You're still trying to fake it as if you want to be with one person. So you're still trying to, whoever you're trying to appease, I don't know, but you're still trying to hold on to this notion that people are supposed to be one-on-one. I ask these questions all the time on IG, and like I get a plethora. I get people from different countries, like all these different responses, and the overarching one that I get is disgust. They're just like, and especially towards men who want polyamory. It's like, how are you so disgusting because you can love more than one person, and the selfish thing, like I can't share mine, like what's mine is mine, like I want it to be mine. But then at the same time, like women cheat too, like women be, you know,
Women
what I'm saying?
statistically
Like,
cheat more than men. They just get caught less.
Yeah, that is true. Y'all hide stuff better.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
But I'm just, and that's why I'm like, are you not being real with yourself? Because a lot of people don't even want monogamy. They do it for, I guess, societal reasons,
Of
like, you know,
course.
what other people are going to think. They don't want to get judged when their cousin or their niece comes to visit
Well, people
them.
inherently don't
compound.
want to be different. People naturally want to be included and want to be around people that are the same as them. So if you're raised around people's parents who are all married, that's what you're going to do. That's why villages and tribes existed, because and still do, because you want to be around your own. That's how racism developed, because you don't want to be around people that look different than you. It's the same thing with sexuality. That's why gay people have gay bars, because they want to be around their own.
Yeah,
That's a natural thing.
So Shad, and they've been a little quiet over there. Would you be open to a polyamorous relationship?
Would I be open to it? Yeah, I think so. I just know how I am, and I don't think I have the mental stamina to pour into multiple people. You know, like I think being self-aware and knowing that about myself, I think if I was to be in that type of situation, or if I had a partner who was like, hey, like, you know, let's try, I would never be the one to introduce it. My partner would have to be the one to introduce it. I mean, if they introduce it, I would try it. But I don't think that I would be successful at, because again, I know how I am, and I just the mental stamina to pour outside of the physical part. And again, I understand, like, in those relationships, certain people have certain things that you know, this might be the person you have sex with, this might be the person you have deep conversation with, et cetera, et cetera. But again, it's just a lot of different pots you got to pour into, and I don't think I would have the stamina to do that on a daily basis, you know?
Yeah.
So
I can see that in your personality for sure. Like that would be like a chore.
A big chore.
A long to-do list.
I would be exhausted. I would be like mentally exhausted. And someone would fall short for someone, and then I feel like that would possibly cause some problems. And I'm just about just a simple life. But that's not saying monogamy.
Right.
Monogamy would be simple, because again, like, you still have to pour into that one person, and there are multiple things that person needs. So I mean, shit, it might be the same thing with in monogamy. You know, you never know. You know, so.
Still gotta fill that cup.
Exactly.
You still gotta fill that cup. So, Allie, you had when we talked the other day, you had like an interesting perspective
I'm sorry,
on at what stage people should, or you think that people should pursue certain types of relationships. Let's get into that.
Okay, so when we're talking about open relationships or polyamory, I do feel if the eventual goal is to have a life partner or life partners, that you should do as much experimenting as you can in your early years. So that would be like 20s, early 30s for some, especially if you want to have a family with children eventually. I think, you know, obviously because of bio clocks, you have to do that kind of sooner than later. So I just think your 20s could be the years that you would dabble. Had I been more kind of open-minded to it earlier on, I probably would have. But now I'm old, so I can't.
When you say experiences, what are you speaking to?
Dating multiple partners, being in a relationship with multiple people.
I got you. But isn't that like what we do
Experimenting
in our
sexually too.
Isn't that like kind of what we do in our 20s anyway when you're in college?
I
We hide
think-
it though. It's different.
Yeah, but I
because
think
when you don't
polyamory
define
tests
it-
being more
you.
open about it.
Yeah, I think being in a relationship with multiple people tests your communication skills.
Okay. Yes.
I see that people really hone into that. The people that I've met that have been in those types of relationships are just really well spoken when it comes to the balance in their relationships, what exactly they want out of it. Had you asked me 3 years ago what I want in a relationship, it looks nothing like what I want today.
Yeah.
I mean, it's night and day. And a few years really doesn't feel like that much, but it does. And so I feel like in a relationship with multiple people, that's even magnified.
I also think too, the difference between what we did in our early 20s and an actual polyamorous relationship is what we did in our early 20s was way more physical. It only highlighted the physical portion. I don't think there was enough honesty and true love being swirled between the people because you had to kind of, you know, keep your feelings at a certain point to be able to juggle these many people. I think it's very different when, like for instance, me, I would prefer to have like a throuple, so me and two women in one relationship. I feel like the biggest difference would be the amount of honesty that we can have and actual love. So I'm actually able to pour into both of you, you know, unconditionally and not have to think about, oh shit, did I call her the wrong name? Like, did I, you know what I'm saying? I got to cancel on her because I got to be over here with this one. Like, I think that's the biggest difference in what we did in our early 20s where it was like, okay, yeah, it's just you.
But on the side.
Yeah, it's like
But it's
that
also
is
another
not,
20 of you.
yeah,
Exactly,
that's not
yeah.
the same thing. And that's not what I
I
mean when I
can't
say
relate. I've never
polyamory.
gone through anything like that
Yeah, okay.
before, so.
Cool. That's not what I'm saying or at least that's not what I think you're saying when you're saying like experiment in dating multiple people and doing that. I think that still falls in line with monogamy, like trying to be, monogamy has a lot of deceitful tendencies, but I still feel like that falls in line with trying to come off as monogamous.
Right.
Maybe you're not being monogamous, but you're trying to come off as if, yeah, I want a family, I want 12 kids, come on, it's you.
Ooh, that's a lot of kids.
It's not her. She's not over there. Don't look. It's just you. And so, no, I think there's a huge difference. And me personally, I haven't gotten to do it yet, but that's something that I want to experience because you don't know if you don't do it.
Right.
I know what monogamous relationships are like. I've had many of them, but I don't know what this is like, so I don't want to just be like, oh no, that couldn't work. It's impossible. I want to at least give it a shot, a true shot, meaning all of us are honest with one another. All of us come in with the same goals, and we try to, like you said, you like builders, we try to build something, and then boom, it is what it is. Like whether it becomes a house with a great foundation, cool. If it becomes something where it's like, okay, I tried it, I figured out that I don't have the capacity to keep two people happy.
Right.
I can't communicate at that level. Then I say, okay, I don't do it and support, whoever else wants to. But I think a lot of people look at something that's foreign, like you said, and don't do the research, and they're like, no, that's way out of, I could never do that.
Yeah, we're quick to say no
Yeah.
before we say yes. I
What
think
about
to
like
most
older
things.
people? You think older people could do it too, or?
I just think it depends on
40s?
the goal. Sure. I mean,
They might be
what's
more, they might
normalized
be
with
more
married
inclined.
couples? Swinging.
Yeah,
Swinging.
yeah.
There's swingers all
Yeah,
over.
yeah.
And I've met quite a few.
Isn't swinging? I'm not very familiar with swinging, but isn't that more for
just-
physical
yeah, it's just-
satisfaction?
it's
Right, but I'm
physical.
just saying
okay.
there's a reason why they're seeking that.
I just wondered what it was. I never got introduced to
So,
that.
I mean, I think it can go both ways.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think that if you're going to do it, at least try it in your younger years because those are the years that really develop you for the future. 40 and 50 are set in your ways.
Yeah. And I feel like older people too, like if they've gone through like multiple relationships, divorces, whatever the case may be, they might be more inclined to be like, maybe that's not
Yeah.
for me.
Oh yeah.
I'm not trying to get married again. I'm not trying to
Facts.
be, you know. I do know some people who like, you know, I even got family members who are like, yeah, no, I'm not. That's not for me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not getting married. I'm not doing that whole thing again.
My dad is like that.
You know, it's low key traumatized. You know.
Yeah.
So
Can't blame him.
You mentioned family, right? And if the goal is to have a family and raise children, do you think that could be done in a polyamorous? I
Of
personally
course.
think it would be great.
It takes a village.
That's what I said.
Literally,
I think it
yeah,
would be
of
great.
course.
You have 4 kids and you have 2 dads and 3 moms.
please,
like,
yo,
bro,
please
Wow, that's a
explain
lot
this to
of
me.
people.
Please explain this to me.
you know, I'm just saying, like, I feel like you have a built-in village. You have a built, and I think, and I don't know
I
that
think it
he
can
doesn't do the
work.
best job of explaining it, but Brother Polite, I like what he thinks he's doing. I like the concept of what he's talking about when he talks about how his polyamorous relationship is like they're building their own like kingdom almost, and like each person is good at a different thing. Like they all have their roles, they all have a business, they homeschool, so each one teaches the kids a different thing. Like,
Okay.
and I view that as like a polyamorous, like at the size his is it's all people with one collective goal, right? And to bring children into that, I think is amazing. I think and he even talked about it. You spend more time with the kids because you're not having to do a trillion things to make sure that the household is running, right? 2 people can only do so much, especially in today's age where people have to work like 2-3 jobs. You gotta cook, you gotta clean, you gotta take them to basketball practice. When do you have time to really pour into them?
I think there are pros and cons to every
No, there is,
relationship.
but I think
sure.
it could be a beautiful thing. I think it'd be like to be able to split up the tasks and like all that stuff. I think it could be amazing for children. I know that's a lot of people's like main like reason why not. Well, I want children.
No, I was saying if you're planning on having a family, you'd want to decide how you want to raise that
Yeah.
family. So I'm saying if you're to experiment, do it before, because I feel there's a risk of damaging children. If in the middle of your marriage you're like, psych, I want 3 wives. Like what?
Yeah.
And so I think at that point, that's where things get iffy. So if you can experiment more when you're younger, you figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
And I don't think we really know that till our 30s, to be honest.
What you want?
What we want, what works for us.
Oh, yeah,
I think what we want, like I've been figuring out what I've wanted since I was 16. I mean, at 18, I thought I was going to get married to my high school sweetheart. Like, joke's on me. I had no idea what I wanted 3 years ago. So I think that's different than actually knowing what works.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, yeah, because you do have to take that time to like, you know, get to know yourself and you know, try it with other people and all that stuff. And yeah, no, I agree. And I think that concept of knowing what you want before you get to a point where you're like, you know, talking marriage, family and stuff has been proven immensely by the amount of homosexual people who have been married heterosexual and then later on having to deal with that burden and like leaving, and that like just crucifies families. And I get why that was the case because it wasn't accepted and all that stuff, so I'm definitely not talking down on anybody, but I agree that figure out what you want, and then if it's feasible,
Right.
I think either scenario
Well,
could be
the same goes to that, though. Had we normalized men experimenting with other men, which is super taboo.
No, we haven't normalized it. I can just tell you right now.
No, I said had we normalized,
had we.
then those people
That's
that
not normalized at all.
No, not at all. If we did, then those men that entered heterosexual marriages would that wouldn't have happened because they would have known that their preference, their liking, and I think the same thing goes to relationships, unless you're in a throuple, as you like to call it, or whatever.
As I like to call
Well, you say it a lot, so
That's what it's called.
the throuple king over here.
That's the name of it. Jesus Christ. See, look, I'm getting judged already, guys. I'm my own show. I'm getting judged. This fucking sucks.
I hate it here.
I don't like it. I definitely do agree with that self-actualization, that self-awareness. Like, you do have to take those years to kind of experiment. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't experiment with men, but I do think it should be normalized that, you know, experiment however the fuck you want to.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. And nothing is off the table. Well, some things are off the table, but a lot of stuff is on the table, all right? And I feel like it's not up to, kind of like how they say men should not tell women they can't get abortions. I feel like it's not up to a monogamous person to tell a polyamorous person they're wrong, or vice versa. It's not up to you to tell someone what they should or should not want to explore.
Right.
We should allow people to just, do what you want. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, I'm still here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like if we could kind of move in life that way, that everyone would be a lot happier. There are a lot of people, I would say majority, I would probably be close to betting my life on 80% of people are in relationships that they do not want to be in, that they are not happy with where they are, and they can't speak on it because they've been in it for too long. They have kids now. They've been in it 10 years. They got money invested. We got a family business together. I can't say anything now. And someone commented that on one of my posts. They were like, more people probably would have engaged, but they probably just can't say anything because they're already in something they don't like. And I think that's very unfortunate. I think that's extremely unfortunate because
it sucks.
Yeah, and I think people should have that time to, like, judgment-free, just do your thing, like how now it's being more accepted that women do their thing, like, younger. They have their time like how men did. And I think that's dope. I think everyone should be able to, I personally like women who have been through stuff. Go make your mistakes, go meet that not shit dude, because I feel like if you don't do that.
Or the 100.
I feel like if you don't do that, you don't appreciate what's on the other side. So how can we?
Are you saying you're on the other side?
I don't know. I'm like in the middle.
So full
I'm
of
teetering.
himself.
Teetering. I don't know side yet.
Teeter you to the other side.
Well, help me. Hey, help me get over there. I think you got some insight for me. And let's get into.
Oh gosh. I already know what's about.
Another form of exploration.
Another one.
Yeah, pull the turtleneck up. Another form of exploration.
Steve Jobs
the
over
sexcation. Right, this is something that you introduced me to, the idea, the concept.
Did
you
I
told me about it.
I don't know if I introduced you.
You told me about it.
I did? Okay.
You told me about it.
I don't recall.
Please explain the sexcation.
Okay. Sexcations are trips that one might take by themselves or with someone that they have some interest in, some chemistry with. And there are no expectations, whether you go as just friends, become lovers during the trip, and it's normally like a long weekend. And I've taken a few.
And how
Now
were
it's
they?
out.
How'd they go?
No one knows about these. I mean,
it's
unless
out.
they're the person with me.
No, but how was
Oh,
that
they're
experience?
always great.
It was great?
Yeah, first of all, I love a vacation. But I mean, vacation and lots of sex. I don't know anyone who would not like that.
No, yeah, nobody's not gonna like that. But but the reason why I asked you to bring that up or talk about it is because when I heard you say it, like, I was just like, that's dope as hell. Like, I didn't view it as like, what the fuck? Like, you're just gonna have a weekend?
I think the one thing that's great about it, especially if you're considering being in a relationship with someone, if you've ever dated anyone, traveling with them is so different. And especially seeing someone in an environment that's maybe new to them, it shows you a lot about them. And it's the same thing with like living with someone, but I'm not fixing to live with someone like within a week of dating them, like, hey, want to live together just to see how things go? Like, no. But if you're like, let's go on a trip and really see, and it's more of being at a neutral place. It's not necessarily taking a trip to go see that other person, because I think being in someone's personal space when you're first meeting can be difficult. It's different. But if you're going to a neutral place, especially with a really beautiful ambiance, it helps to, what? A beautiful
The beautiful ambiance.
Well, if it is a beautiful ambiance, it makes it nicer.
It enlightens the experience.
All right, well, you're never getting invited on any sexcations with nobody, okay? Sheesh.
Take Brent to the Motel 6.
Yeah, I'm taking to Austin.
I'm dropping you off at La Quinta tomorrow.
La Quinta.
Oh my god.
Let's go to Galveston.
I can't. Yeah, let's go. Yes.
Let's go to Galveston. I heard,
my
I heard the
gosh.
water's clear this time.
I can't. But yeah, I think it makes you discover the other person a lot more. And then you have nothing but time together too.
Yeah.
There are no distractions of like work, kids if you have them, things like that.
Why are people looking down on this thing? Like, is it
I don't
frowned
meet
upon?
but I don't meet many people who are that explore much. You know what I mean? Like, people think they're exploring, but I don't meet people who are truly like, yo, that's an adventure to me. Like, of
Right.
course, like, you know, you vet the person a little bit, you know, they're clean, like all that
Yeah.
stuff. To me, that's an adventure and the epitome of like quality time. You know what I mean? Because of course you're not sexing 24/7, so you are. Well, okay. Well, you are. I mean, but like you said, you are getting to know this person. This is a
Right.
total neutral environment. Both of you are trying to figure this thing out, and it does show you a little bit about that person. I think traveling with people is like the best way. to like see if you're compatible.
Yeah, there have been just platonic friends of even the same sex where I'm just like, at the end of it, I will never travel with your ass again. I mean, that's happened to me actually quite a few times. I think I'm a bit more of an experienced traveler, I guess you can say. So maybe my standards are a little bit higher of like how people maneuver with maps and, you know, places to go eat or things like that. But or Google Maps, but you know what I mean. Figuring out
you bust out a map.
Well, I'm thinking
you bust
about
out a map, you ain't traveling. Oh no, ma'am.
Let me take out my paper map real quick. No, I'm thinking back to
Excuse
like when I was younger and like I went to Holland with a friend and this was back when I was at Syracuse. We went on like a spring break or something and it actually went great. And he maneuvered around, you know, that's one of my home countries. I'm part Dutch. And so it was interesting to see him adapt really easily and well. But it could have gone an entirely different way. So I just think it's important to get to know people, and being in a nice environment and a new one, I think will show you who they are.
What kind of traveler are you? Are you like the kind that's like, when I get here, I'm gonna bust the doors down and explore the whole thing? Or are you like, let me chill
I thought
and
you were
let it
saying
come to
bust the
me?
doors down and do something else. I was like, wow, we're really getting to the nitty gritty of these sexcations.
Pivots are a part of conversation.
Continue with the question.
No, that's all I was asking. Like, what do you look for in a traveling partner?
You know, I'm really good at traveling alone, so I don't know if I look necessarily into the details of how they travel. I think I just like to get to see them in a different kind of habitat, if you will. But I do like someone who's more open-minded. Like if I'm going, let's say, to Mexico, which is like where I go 2 to 3 times a year. I've been doing that for almost 8 years now. When I go, let's say I tried crickets for the first time in Mexico City. I wouldn't want a guy sitting there like, you don't have to do it, don't get me wrong, but not like, ew, that's effing nasty. Like, I don't need your comments. Keep them to yourself. Are you paying for dinner or not? Probably not. So, like, I don't want that energy. I don't want the negativity. If you see something that that's not normal to you, don't comment on it. Be more intrigued, ask questions. Just someone who's open-minded and who's courteous. There is nothing worse than traveling with someone who does not say thank you just because like they don't know the language, they don't make an effort.
Oh yeah.
That is such a pet peeve of mine. I didn't think about that till now, but yeah, definitely a pet peeve.
Definitely gotta learn a couple words.
Yeah, at least like bring a like you have Google Translator now on your phone, like use it.
No, that's facts.
Yeah.
That's facts. No, I agree with that. I would definitely, try to learn hi, bye, where's the restroom?
Where's the beer? Important things.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty important.
Like, one more drink, please. Just the important things.
Where's the
Uno.
beer?
Can I get to another?
Un más. Yeah.
So Shad, I'm gonna, kind of pull you into this a little bit. Do you feel like you explored a lot in your 20s to kind of get to this realization that you're at right now? Because, I mean, we're kind of evenly spaced as far as age is concerned.
I mean, I've just always been, I feel like I've always been just kind of like one track. I've never really been the type of person to like to do a whole lot of multiple things at the same time. So
are you like hyper focused just on one thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's just my character, like how I maneuver. So like just even just like dating, like I the times when I was single and trying to like date like multiple women at the same time, like that shit is exhausting.
I think in dating, it is
exhausting to me. So
exhausting.
I mean, I've never. I want to say like I've like tried to intentionally experiment, but the times where I kind of had the space to kind of do so, I'm just like, nah,
it's not for me.
It's not me. I can't do it. It's fun for like a day or two, and then after that, I'm like, oh nah.
Do you feel that way with like dating apps? Have you been on dating apps before?
I've never used.
I was about to say, I don't see Shad on the dating app.
We had this conversation yesterday.
Yeah, I know you're big on the dating apps.
No, you know what?
You're heavy
Don't
on the
come
dating
for me,
apps.
okay? This might be your
Writing
show,
this
but do not
narrative
come
for
for me.
me.
Like, do not attack me, okay?
Talking about, we talked about this the other day, they ain't gonna lie.
Do not come for me.
Talking about that the other day, they gonna lie.
Gosh.
But you loud national TV.
Wow. Okay, first of all, I'm not on any apps right now. I haven't been for quite a while. I told you this.
No, but what's quite a while?
Since my last relationship. And
But
we
how
broke
long
up
was that?
3 months ago.
That's not quite.
2 months ago. We broke up too. No, but since before that. So it's been half a year.
It's been like a week.
No, it's been 6 months.
I'm clean.
It's been 6 months.
6 months clean.
I'm so done with
6
you.
months bumble free.
I've been sober with dating apps for 6 months. Anyway, I have had an issue finding black men on dating apps. We spoke about this yesterday.
Yeah,
We don't need to go into that though, but
can.
But it was interesting hearing that you've never dabbled, because I'm like, of course,
Compatible black men, or
Yes.
just like the number?
So this is my issue, like the black men on dating apps, and I'm gonna generalize. 80% of them that I see, you swipe left or right or whatever, they're like sitting like they're a multimillionaire on the hood of their 2005 BMW 3 Series. I swear to God.
That's not
and
how
I'd be
my
like,
pictures work.
God damn. And then at one point I said, you know what? Maybe it's just a facade. Like, let me just give them the benefit of the doubt. So I'll swipe right, and then the messages that come in they're appalling. And it's not.
Please enlighten me of a message, or this type of shit is so intriguing
It's
to me.
just, I wish I could
serious?
just like reactivate and the message could pop up. I mean, I've heard it all, but I just don't even. It's just not good. Okay, for like.
Let's pause real quick to bring a
and
small
anyone will tell you that.
detail
I'm not
into
being
this,
picky
though.
or anything.
No, I know
Okay,
you're not.
I just
know
wanna
you're
make
not.
that
But I want to
clear.
bring a small detail into this, right? So, Allie is not raised by American parents.
Okay.
Right. So your dad is
Haitian.
Okay. But you were born in France, right?
No, I have a French birth certificate.
Right.
But my mom was French and Dutch. My dad is Haitian.
Okay.
So her
Yeah.
views on this kind of stuff is a little different from like your typical like American woman who's seeking a relationship. I would say compared to Americans, your standards are higher. I would say so, and it's not a bad thing. It's just what
Sometimes I look at my exes and I'm like, that's not true.
Well, I mean, you get what you can, you take what you can get at sometimes, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think it's a difference
I
in
guess.
your culture. I think the culture of like the people,
Yes,
the black
like
men
my
on
dad
dating apps just doesn't.
My
fit
dad does
you.
not relate to most like black American men. He just culturally, it's taken him a while, I think, to see the world through their eyes. So for me, I always hold black men to standard that my dad set for himself, and I definitely have placed him on a pedestal.
Was your dad born and raised in Haiti?
No, they left
Okay.
when he was 2.5, and
Okay,
then he was
okay.
raised in Africa, as was my mom.
Which part?
My mom was in Cameroon. My dad was in Chad, Gabon, I believe,
Okay.
and they both lived in Nigeria for a little bit of a time.
Okay.
But they were both educated in Paris. I know that's a lot.
I got
part
you.
that.
And they both met in
Educated
New York
like
City.
grade school or like
Yeah,
university?
they went to boarding school,
Okay.
and then my dad went to University of Maryland in the States. My mom went to the Beaux-Arts in Paris to study
Okay,
architecture.
okay. I'm starting to
So
understand
all,
now. I got
all
you.
over,
That's
right?
where ambiance comes from.
There ain't no ambiance over here. Stop messing with my vernacular, please.
Okay.
So I think what I've struggled with is kind of breaking through that like mold of seeing black men on apps thinking they need to sit on 20-year-old luxury German cars for what? Like, I'd rather see your credit score. Like, if you could just snapshot what your Equifax looks like and your 401k, if you're trying to, do you see what I'm saying? I'm not looking for someone with money, but if you're going to put off that you have money,
yeah.
show me what it
You
really
want-
looks
yeah,
like.
exactly, yeah.
Because you sitting
You
on
see
that
through
car
bullshit.
that probably doesn't even move anymore
Yeah.
is not appealing to me. Yeah, it's a prop. I don't want that. I want someone who can write, I've traveled here, or I'm passionate about X, Y, and Z,
Yeah.
and this is what I'm looking for. Okay, great. But I've only found that, honestly, with white guys. And sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's good. Some of the white guys are just straight up, like, just looking to hook up. Okay, well, at least you said it. But with the black men, it's like this finesse. And I don't, other than back in college, like, I don't know how to organically meet black men, really.
Interesting.
Anymore, and I've spoken to some of my cousins about that too on my black side, and they all were like, yeah, I just never want to say it out loud. I'm like, black men are trash on apps. 80%. I've encountered some nice, great ones. I'm just saying for the majority, it's like, I don't know where this facade comes from.
Yeah, like I said, that goes back to
I didn't know.
trying to be honest and genuine about, you know, wanting to experience certain things. And I think for us too, like as black men, because I know we've already had this conversation, like I think for us too, it is a lot to do with upbringing. It is a lot to do with what we see and what we perceive as successful.
Yeah.
Right.
What we perceive as like, you're doing well, right? I've sat on a car. I've definitely taken a selfie next to a car.
Let me see it.
I'll show you. I definitely have a couple, and they definitely wouldn't be my dating app profile photo.
Right.
But I've definitely taken them so I can understand the mindset. Like I definitely get like where this comes from. We don't know much about wealth, and that's another thing we could get into. But as far as the apps are concerned, no, I don't think that's I've never met I've met people that become my friend. I've never met like a great partner based off of reading their profile and being like, oh yeah, I'm just going to swipe right on that. Never. So the apps, but that's another part of experimenting. That's another part of...
all 3 of my exes I met on an app. So I don't know what that says about me, but I mean, they've been great guys, so don't get me wrong.
But you're
not what I was looking for, but...
You're kind of busy though, so it makes sense.
What are you talking about busy?
Like back before COVID.
Oh, okay.
So it makes sense to meet
What are you
people
trying
on
to
the
say
app.
busy? Define that in this context, please. What are you trying to say? You a little busy. What am I, B? Like, how busy are we talking?
Work.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant busy on apps. I'm like, what are you trying to tell people? I'm busy.
See, look, trying to
I'm
read
like,
through
no.
lines that are not there.
I'm like,
He was out here.
Right, like what?
I've been under attack for like 24
have
hours
not
by
been
Brent,
under
so just
attack.
making
That is
sure.
lies, man.
Oh,
Don't come on the Raw Daddy Hour and don't keep it raw. Come on. Man.
Okay,
No,
thank
but
you. Yes,
bringing
busy,
it
yes.
back, bringing it back to our original theme. I know we got a little off topic there, but bringing it back. My last closing statement is, I think we should just, and fuck whether it's monogamy or polygamy, I don't care. I think we should just allow people to explore.
Yeah.
However they want to explore. And if you don't want to be a part of that, but you're attracted to a person, just accept it and move on.
Right.
That to me is a big issue with people. It's once again the selfishness. I'm attracted to you, you're attracted to me. Why can't you want what I want?
Yeah.
Why can't you be who I want you to be? Erase that from your minds. I could be very much attracted to you, but if you want to get married, I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
So I just need to have that convo and we need to walk away.
Yeah.
Allow people to experience and love the way that they want to love, and let that be that.
It's beautiful.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Raw Daddy Hour. I know I got a little steamy in here this time, but we appreciate you for sticking in. I want to say thank you to my guests once again, Shad the Drip God. Allie, we'll get you a nickname after episode 3. All right, you got to get to at least
I'll
3
send
episodes.
you some options.
I'll send you some options. You don't know how this
We'll
works.
catch y'all in the next one.